ASEAN o Association of Southeast Asian Nations ay isang regional association na binubuo ng 10 Southeast Asian countries kabilang ang ating bansa. Itinatag ito upang matugunan ang mga economic, security at political issues ng mga kasaping bansa. Malaki ang papel na ginagampanan ng asosasyong ito sa socio-economic growth at cultural development sa Asia-Pacific through its various programs and projects. It also empowers the people in the ASEAN to contribute in building a better ASEAN community. Ngayong buwan ay ginugunita natin ang ika-54 na anibersaryo ng ASEAN at makakasama natin si ASEC Junever Mahilum-West, Office of ASEAN Affairs ng DFA upang sagutin ang ilan sa ating mga katanungan patungkol sa kasulukuyang estado at mga plano ng organisasyon. 54 years na po ang ASEAN. Nasaan na po ba tayo in terms of achieving the goals of regional stability and economic growth in the Philippines?
Last August 8, we celebrated the 54th anniversary of the founding of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. So, lampas na ng isang half a century ang existence ng ASEAN, and in all the time, ASEAN member states have been working together to achieve regional peace, economic development, and social progress for all member states of ASEAN and for the region. And during its 54th year, ASEAN is the most successful South-South regional grouping. And kasama yung European Union, one of the two most successful regional groupings in the world. I would like to quote si President Duterte in his ASEAN Day message this year, and I quote, "ASEAN is without doubt an indispensable institution for the promotion and preservation of peace and security in the Asia-Pacific region, and with its considerable market, talagang malaki yung market niya, and dynamic workforce, it is also an important economic hub contributing to global growth and development." So yung main purpose ng ASEAN is economic integration and growth. And nagkaroon na tayo ng ASEAN Free Trade Area simula noong 1992. This initiative was intended to create a single ASEAN market. Ang isa pa dyan, as a single regional bloc, ASEAN is the 5th largest economy in the world and is expected to become the 4th largest by 2030. Mapunta naman tayo dun sa political security matters, and let's focus on South China Sea. The Philippines is working closely with ASEAN member states and China on the resumption of the Code of Conduct in the South China Sea negotiations. Medyo na-delay yung negotiations on the COC because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And the Philippines, as past coordinator for ASEAN-China dialogue relations, pushed to proceed with discussion of substantive policy issues virtually. So lahat ng mga meetings were online kasi hindi na pwede yung mga face-to-face meetings because of travel restrictions. Tungkol naman sa progress in human rights, ASEAN has made notable achievements in the protection and promotion of human rights since the establishment of the ASEAN Intergovernmental Commission on Human Rights, or ICHAR.
In the collaboration of these ASEAN countries, paano po ba ito nakatulong in fighting COVID-19 crisis?
Malaki kasi dito sa ASEAN, na-realize natin of course na yung kung nag-iisang bansa ka lang, hindi mo kayang harapin yung challenge ng COVID-19 pandemic and hope to even succeed. Kailangan talaga ito ng collaboration, regional solidarity, regional cooperation, at saka collective action na may coherence, na coordinated. Based on the premises that no single country can successfully battle the pandemic alone, and that no one is safe until everyone is safe. Due to these imperatives, ASEAN member states have worked even harder and quickly as demanded by the times, to cooperate and develop instruments and projects addressing the effects of the pandemic and put the region on the path towards recovery.
Meron po bang mga initiatives or projects ang ASEAN na particularly para sa mga kabataan? Ano-ano po yung mga inisyatibong ito at ano po ang benefits na makukuha mula sa kanila?
The youth is a priority focus of ASEAN cooperation. Many initiatives focus on the youth within ASEAN aim to promote the sense of ASEAN belonging to the ASEAN and the ASEAN identity. To this end, the ASEAN senior officials meeting responsible for information, or SOMRI, the sectoral body handling ASEAN awareness and facilitation of greater information flow on the benefits of ASEAN developments, has a key role in building a sense of ASEAN identity in the region. Since effective communication is essential to raise awareness and promote our regional sense of self. To better navigate the information landscape, the sector is proactively implementing the ASEAN Communication Master Plan 2, covering the period 2018 to 2025. This is the framework for communicating messages about ASEAN's organization, development, and vision to regional and global audiences. With communication increasingly occurring via digital platforms, how we communicate the message of ASEAN must also evolve. SOMRI and the ASEAN Committee on Culture and Information have also long promoted exchange of news and radio programs among broadcasters, and PTV is also a big part of this. There are also other steps that ASEAN takes to accelerate the establishment of a people-oriented and people-centered ASEAN, including more inter-country programs and people-to-people exchanges that convey a sense of our unity in diversity.
Ano naman po kaya ang mga normal na kabataan, kaming mga schoolmates? What can we do to help achieve the goals of ASEAN, particularly in promoting peace, stability, and development sa iba't ibang mga ASEAN member states?
As current and future leaders and catalysts for economic, social, cultural development, there is a need to invest heavily in programs and dialogue that involve our youth. Youth leadership development is considered one of ASEAN's high priorities and is one of the sub-goals of the ASEAN Work Plan on Youth for the period 2016 to 2020, focusing on 5 priority areas, namely youth entrepreneurship, youth employment, youth awareness, youth volunteerism and leadership, and youth resilience. In June 2020, ASEAN youth representatives presented to the leaders the most important and practical issues to both ASEAN youth and ASEAN leaders, namely youth volunteerism, youth entrepreneurship, and 4th Industrial Revolution skills for the youth. They will always have a voice and will be heard in ASEAN. The leaders also reiterated their commitment to create appropriate measures to ensure that ASEAN youth will continue to prosper in all aspects and make the best contributions to ASEAN community building and to the development of each ASEAN country. The ASEAN youth seeks the ASEAN leaders' support for the creation of enabling environments for volunteerism, provision of regular platforms and inclusive mechanisms to recognize the outstanding achievements of the youth, and the establishment of an ASEAN Youth Volunteer Network. On youth entrepreneurship, the ASEAN youth emphasized the need to have evidence-based youth employment policies and favorable mechanisms in the entrepreneur ecosystems, such as youth support centers, co-working spaces, and startups incubators. And third, on the fourth industrial revolution skills, the ASEAN youth are aware of their role in leading the post-COVID-19 recovery and pledge to advocate and raise awareness on the importance of investing and building relevant future-ready education systems of all forms and focusing more on infrastructure investment. So those are the priorities. Those are the focus areas. And as I've said, the youth will remain to be one of the priority focus of ASEAN as it embarks as regional integration and community building goes on.
Maraming salamat po, ASEC Junever Mahilum-West, Office of ASEAN Affairs ng DFA.